everyone. I welcome you all to the Analyst of 1st October, wherein we provide you the in-depth discussion of important articles from both Hindu and Indian Express. So, what are the topics of the day? First of all, we will look into the case of electric vehicles and the transportation revolution that it's bringing in India. Next, we look into the geophysical phenomena of El-Nino and Indian Ocean Dipole and how does it impact Indian monsoon. Next, we will look into the concerns of linking Aadhaar with a government scheme, a concern which has been recently flagged by the Moody's report. Next, we will have a policy analysis of the recently launched Aspirational block program. And in the last one, we'll try to explore space in depth in light with the recent explorations in the asteroid Bennu. So let's get started with the first topic, which is about the electric vehicles. This pertains with GS2 part of the syllabus. We will learn about different government schemes and policies in order to enhance the adoption and adoptions of electric vehicles. Next, it also pertains to GS3 part of the syllabus where we'll read about the emerging technologies and also its impact on climate change. So, what is the context of this particular news? The news highlights that due to large-scale participation of the startups in the electric vehicle sector, the overall electric vehicle production can be seen on surge in India, and startups have now been resorted to launching on-demand doorstep charging in India. So with regards to this, first let's understand what are electric vehicles. Now see, vehicles are broadly of two types depending upon which kind of engine is powering them. So, if the engine is made up of an internal combustion engine, also known as which is driven by fossil fuels, then this is a conventional vehicle. But if it has got a battery engine which is powered by electric motor, then this will be called as electric vehicles. So vehicles which are powered either partially or fully by electricity are known as electric vehicles. Now when I am saying they are either partially or fully powered, if they are partially powered, then they are called hybrid electric vehicles. And if they are fully powered by electricity, that is, they are only having electrovoltaic cells, then they are called battery electric vehicles. In India, we are mostly promoting the hybrid electric vehicles, while battery electric vehicles are far more efficient but also more costly in installation. So now when we have understood the types, also in the hybrid electric vehicle, you will see one more variant to it, which is the plug-in hydroelectric vehicle, wherein you will not only have an internal combustion engine but also a battery engine, and this battery engine can be externally charged because it has also got an external socket to it. So these are some of the types of electric vehicles. Now, why is the shift to electric vehicle crucial? See, you need to understand the scenario that is going on. India's population is growing. Not only that, we are the 5th largest vehicle market in the world and soon to become the 3rd largest vehicle market. So which means that our demand is going to constantly increase when it comes to vehicles. But not only this, we have also committed ourselves to the Paris climate goals, wherein we have committed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Not only that, we have also committed to become net zero emitter of greenhouse gases by 2070. Now, how do we balance both the things? The need for vehicle production and also the need for environmental conservation. So in order to balance both of them, we need a transportation overhaul, a transportation revolution, and adoption of electric vehicles is the key to it. So therefore, electric vehicle adoption is very, very important for a country like India. Now, what are the other benefits when it comes to electric vehicle adoption? First and foremost are the environmental benefits, because they are not fueled by fossil fuels. They do not have polluting exhausts. They do not have pollution in terms of greenhouse gases. So first of all, they are also called as zero emission engines. The battery driven electric vehicle are basically zero emitters. They are zero exhaust givers. So therefore, your pollutants like nitrogen or nitrous oxides, nitrogen dioxides, different variants of it, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds, particulate matter 2.5 and 10, all of them are basically not emitted by electric vehicles. Not only that, the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, like methane, which were getting emitted from the internal combustion engines, are nowhere to be found in the electric vehicles. So it is taking care of the environmental health along with taking care of the public health also, because this is how we can also prevent the cardiovascular diseases, the respiratory diseases in human and also in animals. So it has got huge environmental benefits. It will also help us to fulfill our Panchamrit principles, or also our commitments towards the Paris climate goal. Now, second, it ensures energy security for the nation. What happens with a conventional vehicle? It is driven by fossil fuel. India does not have enough reservoir of fossil fuel. Naturally, we are import dependent on other nations. So the price of fossil fuel is subjected to fluctuations with regards to the political stability and instability going on, the trade wars that are going on, for example. Therefore, due to the fluctuations of the prices, the availability of the fossil fuel, the energy security is compromised. It also leads to increased import bill when it comes to having conventional vehicles. But what about our electric vehicles? They are largely driven from electricity, and electricity can be generated from two kinds of sources. One is your conventional sources, that is say thermal power plants, and the other one could be non-conventional sources. These could be from your renewable sources like wind, like solar plants, like hydropowers. And India has got adequate production of all these kind of electricity generations. So therefore, we are self-sufficient in driving electric vehicles because of adequate amount of electricity generation in the country. So therefore, it will also help us to keep secure from the vulnerabilities of the global price oil fluctuations. So therefore, it also ensures in energy security in the nation. Not only that, it has a very beautiful multiplier effect in the economy. See, when you invest into the adoption of electric vehicles or the development of a technology like electric vehicles, there are various other technologies which are linked to it, various other sectors of economy. For example, if I'm resorting to take an electric vehicle, I will basically have a battery, some power generation economy dependent on it. For example, our power plants or your charging infrastructure. So I will have different sectors of economy dependent on electric vehicles. So when I'll be developing electric vehicles, I will also be fueling development in these sectors of economy, which will help me to boost the economic growth of the nation. It will also help to boost the employment generation in the country. So these are the other benefits of electric vehicles. Next is, it has long-term cost savings. Even though the initial cost of installation, the upfront cost of installing electric vehicles is quite high, but still when it comes to long-term, the operational cost is pretty low as compared to other conventional vehicles. It does not require a lot of servicing, a lot of maintenance. So the servicing requirement is also pulled down. Therefore, in the long run, it will be a very good investment. Next, it also helps in decongesting the cities, as we know that rapid urbanization is going on. As a result of this, there are congested urban spaces. There's a lot of pollution going on. A case study of Delhi could be a very brilliant example, which has led to not only the menace of pollution, but also traffic jams, as you can see very often in Delhi. Why is this happening? Because of the large size vehicle, because of the large demand of the vehicles. Now, electric vehicles can be a very good boon in this regard. Why? First of all, because of the compact size. So because of the compact sizes, it will definitely be taking lower or lesser parking spaces. Not only that, because they are zero emission vehicles, so they will not be polluting in nature as well. Also, they can help you produce cheaper public transport or public social mobility transports. So basically your pod taxis, metros, they can be taken up. They are driven by electricity. They are also one of the electric vehicles, and they are much more cheaper as compared to other modes of public transport. So this will also help us in having a more environmental friendly urbanization or more green spaces in the city. Now, let's talk about the challenges in the adoption. What are the adoption challenges? So first of all is the higher initial cost. Higher initial cost basically because of the battery infrastructure that is used. So battery installment takes a lot of space, takes a lot of money. Not only that, because there is high initial cost, so it will largely become unaffordable to a huge segment of population, that is the poor classes, the middle classes. So they will never resort to taking the electric vehicles. As a result of this, the overall demand of the electric vehicles in the country will come down. If the demand comes down, the companies will become disincentivized for production of electric vehicles. So as a result of this, the electric vehicle adoption rate and production rate both will go down in the country. So this is the first challenge. So the first challenge that we need to take care is to lessen the initial cost. This should be done by providing some financial incentives on the behalf of government to both the buyers and the sellers of the electric vehicle. Next is, since we are seeing that the production is lessened down because of the lower demand of electric vehicles, because of poor affordability, we can also see that there are only limited model options available. When it comes to electric vehicles, you do not see as many models as compared to the conventional vehicle. Why? Because of poor demand. Poor demand, so less investment, less companies would try to come into the market. When less companies are coming, the competition will also slower down. When the competition is low, different variants, different models, the cheaper alternatives will not be made available to the public. So this is the second challenge. Both of them are interrelated to each other. Next, and a very important one, is the limited charging infrastructure in the country. The charging infrastructure development is at a very nascent stage and it is particularly concentrated in India. If you see in India, and it is also highlighted by this particular article from the Indian Express, that the vehicle to charging point ratio in India is very, very low. We have got only one charging point for 164 vehicles. So that is the rate where we are. If we see for USA, they have got one charging point for 18 vehicles, pretty better than us. Now, if you see in India also, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh are far more compromised as compared to Delhi and Maharashtra. So therefore, there are localized, there are concentrated charging infrastructure. Now, when there is lack of charging infrastructure, people who are living in constricted spaces, for example, flats, will they ever resort to taking electric vehicle? How will they charge their vehicles? So therefore, this also further lowers down the demand of the adoption of electric vehicles in India. Next, it has got limited driving range. So when it comes to the different variant of electric vehicles, we have got hybrid electric vehicles and we have got much more efficient but also much more costly battery electric vehicles. Okay, now when it comes to the driving range of hybrid ones, it ranges somewhere from about 30 to 100 kilometers per charge. So if you charge it one time, it will move up to about 30 to 100 kilometers, and that is also variable with different models, different companies. When it comes to a battery electric vehicle, the charging is somewhere about, or the charging potential is, or the range is somewhere about 350 kilometers per charge. But this is good enough, but at the same time, this is costlier alternative. So in the case of India, where the geographical expanse is too large and people tend to travel across different states, across different cities through their vehicles, they will never be resorting to electric vehicles because of the uncertainty created by the range. What if they will go down on fuel, down on electricity, somewhere in between, while traveling from, say, Delhi to Mathura, and they are not having any charging infrastructure? So this range anxiety is one of the biggest issues why people don't resort to electric vehicles. Next is the supply chain constraints. As we know that the electric vehicles are driven by batteries. Batteries essentially are made up of lithium ion. Now, lithium is a critical rare earth mineral which is heavily concentrated in some pockets of the world. These are either your China or largely Argentina. So India, if at all it wants to develop its own battery infrastructure, it needs to import again, just like fossil fuels, and it will become import dependent on other countries. So therefore, any issues with the supply chain infrastructure will create hurdles in the development of the battery infrastructure in India also. Next, the longer charging time. Now, when it comes to conventional vehicles, the refueling time is pretty quick. In 5 minutes, you get your refueling done. But when it comes to charging an electric vehicle, the charging time would be anywhere about 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending upon the range of your vehicle. So, these are some of the challenges which needs to be addressed if we want to have a transportation revolution in the country. So, what are the way forward and what the Indian government has been doing to take care of these challenges so far? First of all, we want to reduce the adaptation or the adoption challenges of the electric vehicles. Basically, you have to incentivize both the buyers and the sellers to purchase the electric vehicles. You have to promote awareness of purchasing electric vehicles. You have to promote the benefits, whatever we have discussed. We have to make sure that even people know about this. So all of these things are taken care by the Indian government through one initiative or the another. The first one is to provide financial incentive to the buyers and sellers, and that is through the FAME scheme, the Faster Adoption and Manufacturing of Electric Vehicle Scheme Part 2. This is by the Ministry of Heavy Industries. It also takes care of installation of charging infra across the country. So therefore, it helps to lessen the adoption challenges. What it does, it basically will be providing you some tax incentives, tax benefits. For example, you will be the rebate of registration fee or road tax can be provided. At the same time, the sellers or the producers can be given subsidies by the government. So these are some of the ways in which FAME is working to reduce the adoption challenges in the country. Next is the vehicle scrappage policy. So in this one, if you're having a conventional vehicle, then you can give off for scrappage to the government of India, and in return, you can get some incentive from the government in the terms of tax rebates, etc., in order to get the electric vehicle. So this is the vehicle scrappage policy of the country. Next, we need to boost the demand. We need to boost the market and the supply of electric vehicles in the country. For this, the first one is National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, which has set up a sales target. So from 2020 onwards, government has committed to produce about 6 to 7 million sales year-on-year basis in the India. This is also in line with the EV 30 at 30 campaign, of which India is a part, in which countries globally have committed to produce at least 30 new vehicles, which are electric vehicles, by 2030. Next, in order to incentivize manufacturing, we have got two schemes. First is the National Mission on Transformative Mobility and Battery Storage. In this, government is trying to put up giga sizes battery storage infrastructure and battery production infrastructure in the country, so that we become self-reliant in the supply chain. Next, production linked incentive scheme. In this, government is trying to incentivize, produce fiscal and financial incentive to the producers of not only the electric vehicles but also the other electric components. Next, government is trying to have public awareness campaign, and this is one of the very important way forward, so that people start adopting the electric vehicles, so that market demand can boost up, so that more players can come into the market, and eventually we will be able to have good models, competitive models at cheaper pricing. So therefore, public awareness campaigns like the Go Electric campaign is one good way forward. Next, increase in the variety of electric vehicles should be more number of varieties should be made available, and that can be done once the government has ensured that the demand of electric vehicles has got a boost in the society. Next, accelerating the charging technology and the energy infrastructure. We need to make sure that the energy infrastructure which is driving the electric vehicles, that is also taken care of, that is also getting duly developed. For example, the hydro power plants, the solar power plants, the wind power plants. The energy infrastructure should mainly be of renewable energy only, and the charging technology should also be accelerated. Here, a lot of installation needs to be done. For example, the Ministry of Power guideline has recently said that for a grid, in every grid, in about 3 kilometers, there should be installation of a charging of a electricity charger. And for in the case of national highways, in every 25 kilometers, there should be charging infrastructure on both sides of the lane. This is how it's trying to incentivize or accelerate the development of charging technology. Next, model building bylaws. So these particular laws are developed by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, whereby it has said that in every housing space, minimum of 20% of parking lot should be reserved mandatorily for the parking of electric vehicles in the country. That is going to be the new building code of the country. Now, not only that, government should also have fleet adoption. How it can do? It can do by providing electric vehicle alternative for shared mobilities like for buses, for metros, etc. And it should also make sure that the government agencies or the government organizations are resorting to using electric vehicles. This will not only boost up the market demand, but it will also help people adopt the electric vehicles by seeing the government example. Now, coming to the next topic here, we will talk about Indian monsoon and the impact of El-Nino and Indian Ocean Dipole on the same. This deals with GS1 part of the syllabus. And what is the context? That in the recent IMD report, it has been highlighted that despite 2023 being announced as an El-Nino year, which means that it was predicted we are going to have a pretty low monsoon this year, despite these factors, India, 73% part of India has received normal rainfall from June to September. That is from the southwest monsoon. So first of all, what is monsoon? Monsoon is nothing but a weather phenomena which is characterized by seasonal reversal of trade winds, seasonal reversal of winds. So if we look into the Indian peninsula, it is characterized, or it is it gets the precipitation by two forms of monsoon. First is the southwest branch of the monsoon, and second is the northeast branch of the monsoon, which is having periodic reversal of the winds. As you can see, 180-degree reversal of the wind can be seen, which is associated with due precipitation in the country. Now, what are the IMD findings? IMD has found that as of September 30, that is considered as the last day of Indian monsoon, the southwest monsoon, India has received 94% of the expected rainfall, which is considered as within the margins of normal rainfall. Normal rainfall is when our country is getting 96% to 104% of the long-term average. So this is when the monsoon is called to be normal. And our country has received, most part of it has received normal rainfall this year. And also there is a prediction that the northeast counterpart of Indian monsoon will also be of normal nature. Next, it has also highlighted regional variations in the monsoon. Approximately 9% of the country has received excess rainfall, 18% of the country has received deficit rainfall, and the other part has received largely the normal rainfall. Now, what is the reason that despite being an El-Nino year, India is receiving monsoon which is normal in nature? This is because the El-Nino effect is countered by another effect, a localized effect of Indian Ocean Dipole. Let's try to understand both of these. First of all, the El-Nino phenomena. El-Nino is basically a part of ENSO, that is El-Nino Southern Oscillations. These are called Southern Oscillations because they primarily take the playground of the equatorial region, especially the southern equatorial region, where the reversal of winds can be seen. As a result of this, the accumulation of current in a particular area can be seen, and as a result of this, warmer than average temperatures of the ocean can be seen, which results in the formation of El-Nino. So why is it called El-Nino? El-Nino stands for a child, and this child is referred to as Jesus Christ. Because why it is named after him? Because it was during Christmas that this phenomena was witnessed most often in the Peruvian coast, and therefore it was characterized, since the Christmas, which is generally to be of wintry nature, was found to be having a lot of rainfall in some times. So it was characterized that An El Nino phenomena takes place in the form of southern oscillations. Why are they called oscillation? Because for once the hot waters get in one side of the coast, one side of the ocean, and in the other part they oscillate towards the next part of the ocean. So when the hot water, the warmer than average water, comes towards the East Pacific, towards the Peruvian coast, this phenomena is known as El Nino. And when it moves towards the West Pacific, that is the Indonesian and the Australian coast, that's when it is called La Nina phenomena. Now, what is the mechanism behind the development of these two phenomena? The mechanism is the oceanic and atmospheric interactions. So what is happening as the trade winds or as the westerlies or winds flow above the ocean currents or above the ocean surface, it also tends to bring, let us have an understanding through the normal ear infographic. So as we can see that the trade winds are moving, and trade winds will basically drive the ocean current towards the west coast. The equatorial current, which is of warm nature, is essentially moved towards the western coast, that is the Australian coast, leading to the development of high pressure in the Peruvian coast and low pressure or rainfall like condition in the Australian coast. This is with regards to a normal year, where a normal air circulation is taking place. The air circulation is our trade winds, which is moving towards the west. Now, what happens during an El Nino year? If this trade wind weakens, that is, it does not amount to drive the ocean currents well towards the western coast, then in that case, the South America or the Peruvian coast eventually accumulates all the warm water of the equatorial current. As a result of this, intense low pressure is created over here. Because intense low pressure is created, a lot of conventional currents are created. As a result of this, it sees storms, it sees rainfall, and on the other hand, the Australia region sees drought or drought-like condition because of development of high pressure. So this is a typical phenomena of El Nino. The frequency of El Nino is actually somewhere between 7 to 3 years, so it is not very periodic, making it very difficult to predict. But this particular year has been predicted as the El Nino year to be developed from June to next January. Now, what is the impact of El Nino on Indian Ocean? In order to understand that, first of all, let's understand what aids the development of Indian monsoon. So the Indian monsoon is fueled by the development of warming of the Indian Ocean, especially the western part of it. Here, because of the development of low pressure due to warming of the ocean, conventional cells are created which are driven by the trade wind towards the Indian peninsula. As a result of this, the monsoon takes place. The monsoon winds moves to the mainland. But what happens if this low pressure system is weakened? Now, this low pressure system gets weakened due to many of the factors, but one such important one is the El Nino phenomena. As you can see in the El Nino phenomena, a high pressure is getting created in the Australian coast. As a result of this, this high pressure will eventually, or the cold waters will eventually cool down the Indian Ocean as well. Now, because the cooling down is done in the Indian Ocean, this low pressure is also degraded. Therefore, because of the less intensification or because of the degradation of the low pressure, the conventional cells are also weakened. As a result of this, the monsoon trade winds also weakens, and therefore India sees compromised rainfall or weakened monsoon during El Nino year. And this is true in Australia also, where we see extreme conditions like droughts, famines, etc. So this was about Indian Ocean. This was about El Nino. Now, what is countering El Nino is the Indian Ocean Dipole, the other phenomena that we are going to read. Now, Indian Ocean Dipole is nothing but a localized form of El Nino, where we will see again oscillations of warm surface waters across two parts of the ocean. So in the case of Indian Ocean also, which is surrounded, or Indian Ocean has got its expanse from the African coast of Somalia till Indonesia. So the regular oscillation of the warmer current to and fro across the coast is known as Indian Ocean Dipole. So this is nothing but Indian El-Nino, okay, because it shows very similar features. Now, what is the mechanism of development? In a normal year, you will see that because of the movement of the trade wind, the equatorial current, the warmer equatorial current will be driven towards the Indonesian coast, creating low pressure over here. This is a normal condition. But what happens during the positive phase? What happens when the IOD gets developed? Due to again the weakened trade wind or sometimes the reversal of the trade winds, what happens? This particular ocean current reverses back itself to the African coast. As a result of this, the concentration of warm surface water takes place in the African region, or basically in the Western Indian Ocean. The moment this region gets more warm water, the low pressure system is intensified, and as we have read, the moment it gets intensified, a lot of conventional cells will get generated, stronger monsoon winds will be developed, and it will be driven towards India. As a result of this, the Indian monsoon will get intensified because of positive Indian Ocean Dipole. The negative side of it is the negative phase, the opposite one, which means that now, because of more than stronger trade winds, as a result of this, most of the warmer ocean current is driven towards the Australian coast, the Indonesian coast, leading to intense rainfall in that region, and a high pressure system is getting created in the Indian region, or in the Arabian region, in basically the Western Indian Ocean. As a result of this, the conventional cells over here weakens. As a result of this, the monsoon also weakens. So this is broadly about ENSO and Indian Ocean Dipole. Now coming to the next topic, here we will talk about Aadhaar issues. This pertains to GS2 part of the syllabus because we are going to deal with the government policies and interventions. So let's get started with the context. Context is that an international credit rating agency, Moody, has published a report, the Investor Service, the Decentralized Finance and Digital Asset Report, which has raised concern regarding the centralized biometric system called Aadhaar in India. So Aadhaar is world's largest digital ID biometric program that is launched by the government of India, whereby any resident of India will be getting a unique identification 12-digit number issued by an authority. Which authority is this? This is Unique Identification Development Authority of India, UIDAI, which has been formed under the Aadhaar Act. So, the Aadhaar helps us in order to be easily recognized by the government. So, it provides easy recognition. At the same time, it provides us single source verification, easy verification as well. Now, what is the rationale for using Aadhaar? First is that it provides a unique identification, so it does away with the cases of duplicate IDs or fake IDs, which eventually reduces the leakages also. You basically get a very distinct and easily verifiable identity because your biometrics will also be attached to it. So there will not be any case of duplicacy. Next is it facilitates anti-corruption in India. Why? Because of duplication, because of fake generation of IDs, people used to have ghost accounts. So there were a lot of ghost beneficiaries who used to penetrate into the system and take out the government resources and channelize the funds in their name. So it was specially seen in cases like PDS, in the public distribution system of food, in the Manrega system. So in order to reduce these leakages, Aadhaar will be a very good way forward. Therefore it was implemented. Next, it also facilitates efficiencies and savings for the government. So when the government is trying to provide you money through the direct benefit transfer schemes, one could be your Ayushman Bharat scheme, for example. So when it is trying to provide you money, it would require the money to go to the right hands and not get leaked in between. Therefore, when there is Aadhaar linkage with your account, with your health account, with your Ayushman account, that's when the efficient delivery of the money or the cash transfer will take place. Therefore, it will enhance the efficiency and savings of the economy. But what are the security and the operational concerns specially highlighted by this particular report? First is the quantity fraud. While Aadhaar ensures that efficient delivery is done to the right person, it does not ensure the amount of quantity that the person is getting. For example, if you are entitled to getting 35 kgs of food under PDS, you have showed your Aadhaar, you have been given the food grain, but only 30 kgs of it, which means that quantity fraud cannot be avoided when it comes to Aadhaar linkages. Next, the authentication failures. Authentication failures are especially prevalent in a country like India with hot and humid climate, where the fading of thumbprints or fingerprints takes place, especially among the farmer classes. So, as a result of this, their biometric authentication becomes very difficult. Due to the failure of this authentication, they might be devoid of their entitlements. So, this is one of the reasons why it fails, why the Aadhaar linkages fails. Second, because we do not have proper connectivity, we do not have proper digital infrastructure, internet connectivity, mobile phone connectivity and coverage. Therefore, the usage is also limited. Next is misdirected payments. Now, it was recently highlighted by the CAG report, Comptroller and Auditor General, that in the Ayushman Bharat scheme, it was seen that many of the accounts were linked with same mobile number. Now, this happened as one of the reasons why Aadhaar is there, but still there could be misdirected payments because of frauds, because of the cyber frauds that are prevalent. And ghost beneficiaries can still be a menace in terms of service delivery. Next, the lack of digital literacy in the nation. Therefore, people are not able to utilize Aadhaar services themselves. They would require some intermediaries to help them. Second, in order to facilitate the payment, Aadhaar-enabled payment system is created by the Government of India. This is like a Paytm which is only for the Aadhaar-linked persons. Now, in order to use this also, government has been providing banking correspondents, the BCs, who help the farmers, especially the poor or the digitally illiterate people, to use the Aadhaar services and to have their cash transfer benefit availed to them. But due to lack of accountability by the banking correspondents, they also tend to misuse this privilege that is given to them of helping the farmers, of helping the vulnerable sections. So therefore, the leakages can also happen from the side of BCs. Next, the data theft and the very infamous privacy issues concerned with the Aadhaar system, because it is largely centralized. So therefore, it has been criticized by the Moody report. Now, what are the decentralized ID systems which the Moody report has suggested for India in place of Aadhaar? So, decentralized systems are basically digital wallets which are having blockchain technology. It's like a Bitcoin that you have. The data access to it is with you only. So, which means that there is no centralized authority like UADI which is taking control over your data. So, as a result of this, your data will naturally be more secure as compared to it being enrolled into a centralized system. So, Moody made a pitch for decentralized ID system. This is already working very efficiently in countries like in countries like Azerbaijan, Estonia, and also in Catalonia, which is in Spain. In Estonia, it is a very good case study of having self-sovereign identity. So this is basically a digital wallet that is given to the people. The entire right of their data is given to them. And this is seen in Estonia, which has completely digitized its governance. Complete digital governance is there in Estonia. And so this example of self-sovereign identity is something that India can learn, maybe on pilot basis, but we can take it up from Estonia. What are the advantages of decentralized ID? First and foremost, it increases the user control over their private data. Next, it will also help to reduce the online fraud. The privacy concerns can be taken care of. Next, the digital wallet that are created are portable in nature. So that will also help in having more flexibility in exchanges. Next, it minimizes the personal information that is held by the intermediaries. For example, the government sources, for example, bank servers, for example, your company servers like that of Apple, Microsoft, Google. So therefore, decentralized IDs can help, can go in a long way, but has also got some challenges. First is the interoperability challenge. Second is how to manage privacy or how to balance privacy with the security concerns, because a lot of fraud can also happen, malware attack can take place, phishing can take place. So therefore also social engineering can be done from the data that the people can get from the digital wallets. Then recovery issues, in case your data has been corrupted or it has been theft, then the recovery will become very difficult in case of decentralized IDs. So these are some of the concerns. So what should be the way forward? First one is to abide by the Supreme Court rulings. It is said that Aadhaar should not be made mandatory for services which are permitted by the government. Only those services should be made mandatorily linked to Aadhaar, otherwise it should be exempted. Then children in the case of Aadhaar should be getting unconditional exception when it comes to delivery to them. Then provision of an alternative should be available wherever the Aadhaar authentication fails. So basically you should also be having alternatives like PIN, like QR code. They should also be treated as an alternatives for the Aadhaar biometric authentication. Next, ensure benefits to the needy is not withdrawn even if they are not able to get their biometric verified. So advanced disclosure of the names that are likely to be deleted along with reasons. Next, issuing a show cause notice to those concerned and giving them an opportunity to respond or to appeal. Now these are some of the things that you can use in your GS4 case study also. How will you deal with a case which is asking you to, or which is giving you a dilemma to deliver a service to a person who's not having the due document verification or due Aadhaar verification? So these are some of the things that you can use. Last but not the least, there should be ex post disclosure of all the cases of deletion with date and reason. This is how you should also talk in your case study. Next, stronger safeguards are needed in order to deal with the privacy concerns. This should be taken care of by the National Payment Corporation of India in order to redress the grievances and the frauds. Next, you should improve the biometric technology so that it also becomes conducive in a country, a hot, humid country like India, to use biometric verification. Next, you should also diversify the authentication methods. For example, again, using QR codes or using some other sources of authentication. Next, should also promote decentralized identification systems, but we should try them first on a pilot basis. And we should see if it is feasible on a larger scale, and then we should try to implement it in India just like Estonia. Coming to the next topic, here we will talk about the Aspirational Blocks program. This deals with GS2 part of the syllabus of government policies and interventions. So what is the context? The government has allocated 100 crore for the Aspirational Blocks program. You must have read about Aspirational District program till now, but now we are going to talk about Aspirational Blocks program, which was launched on January 7th this year. Before beginning with Aspirational Block program, let's first understand its precursor scheme, that is the Aspirational District program, and what is it. Now, it is an outcome-focused governance model that is led by Niti Aayog in order to develop the aspirational districts of the country. What are the aspirational districts? These are those districts which are particularly backward in nature, compromised in their socio-economic indicators. These socio-economic indicators can be broadly reflected by their health condition, by their compromised educational parameters, by their poor standard of living, and by the poor development of infrastructure and accessibility in their region. So in order to particularly advance these aspirational districts, Niti Aayog has led the Aspirational District program. Now, Aspirational District program was launched for the first time under the name of Transformation of Aspirational District program in 2018 piloted by Niti Aayog. What was the objective? The objective was the ADP theory, or the Aspirational District program theory, which says that the main goal of development is to have convergence, collaboration and competition among the states. So basically, we will try to converge multiple central and sectors and state schemes in that particular district so that we ensure that the last mile delivery of all the schemes are done effectively, especially in these districts. Next, collaboration between officials at different levels, be it collector at the district level or chief minister or prime minister. Everybody should be collaborating in order to monitor the implementation and the effectiveness of the scheme. Next, we should also try to lay down a competition, a cooperative competitive feeling which will lay down the competitive federalism in the nation so that the districts compete with each other with a spirit of mass movement. So, overall, 115 such backward districts were identified. They were identified on the basis of a composite index that is issued by Niti Aayog on the basis of delta rankings, as you can see from this map. The most poorer districts are these, especially those affected by the left-wing extremism, also known as the red corridor areas. And then we also see the white ones, which are not having aspirational districts. So about 115 such districts were organized and on the basis of composite index, which was again on the basis of socio-economic caste census, which determines the overall health condition, economic condition, standard of living of the people. Now, what about the management of aspirational district program? So first of all, Niti Aayog took the lead to mentor the most backward 30 districts. The other 50 districts were to be taken care and monitored by various other central ministries, and the rest of the one, especially the 35 left-wing extremism affected districts, were to be monitored and mentored by Ministry of Home Affairs. In the district level, there will be a central Prabhari officer that should be of a joint or additional level secretary, and further below it, there should be Prabhari officers appointed as who are basically the collectors of that district. The states need to appoint these Prabhari officers. Now, it also ensures that the convergence is done. A very important part of management is that convergence of manpower schemes, everything is done in a particular district in order to increase the outcomes. So an empowered committee was particularly created for this, and it was created under the wing of Niti Aayog. Now, as we say that this is an outcome-focused program, why are we saying this? Because Niti Aayog at the end of every year will be providing you delta ranking, which will evaluate the performance of these districts on the basis of total 6 parameters. These parameters are education, health, agriculture and irrigation, financial inclusion, skill development and basic infrastructure with their due weightage. So this is how every year they will be evaluated on the basis of their performance, and they will be ranked also. This will also enhance competitive federalism in the country. Now let's come to the aspirational blocks program. If you see the administrative structure of the India, we have got central government within which the federal unit of state government is there, which is further divided into different districts. Now these districts are further divided into blocks and tehsils. Many a times a tehsil is the larger unit, which is comprised of following blocks. So in order to ensure development at a more micro level, in order to penetrate decentralized governance, Aspirational Blocks program has been created. It was launched on January and first promoted by Union Budget in the year 2022 to 2023. The coverage is that we will be having 500 districts taken up from these 102 aspirational districts across the 31 states and union territories of the country. Over half of these blocks are in 6 states because they are more deprived than the others. Majority of them being in Uttar Pradesh, and it is also based on the ADP theory. The unique feature about this is that students of IIT Kanpur and IIM Lucknow will be roped in for continuous monitoring of these blocks. Next, the SDM will be the nodal block officer of the Aspirational Blocks program. So this is how this newly developed scheme is all about. This is what it is all about. Coming to the last topic of the day, this is about asteroids. It's important from prelims point of view. What is the context? The context is that after releasing its sample capsule over our planet's atmosphere last Sunday, the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft will fire its engine from the Earth's gravity and begin its new journey towards different asteroid, which is Apophis, in the year 2029. So, this will make us to study asteroids and other celestial bodies. To begin with, what are the asteroids? So, asteroid, as you can see, are the large objects in the space which are not as big as the planets, but it has got substantial gravity to it because of the large sizes. So they are essentially composed of carbon, they are essentially composed of rocks, metals and many a times ice also. So these are asteroids. Now let's talk about the other celestial bodies also. Now what happens when a body which is very similar to asteroid but smaller in size, a rocky substance, a piece of rock which is smaller in size, which could be made up of rock or ice or metal, it starts approaching the earth. Those are called the meteoroids. Now, what happens when a meteoroid enters the surface or enters the atmosphere of the earth? That's when the meteoroid starts burning because of the friction created by the atmospheric layers. As a result of this, the meteors are called meteors or the shooting stars, as we famously call them. Next, when the shooting star starts igniting too much or the combustion goes too much, then they become the fireball. And finally, if at all a meteoroid manages to bring some part of it on the Earth's surface and it hits the Earth's surface, then that is called a meteoroid. And this question on the difference between a meteoroid, a meteor and a meteoroid has been asked by UPSC. So therefore, this becomes important for prelims discussion. Now, what are a comet? What is a comet? Comets are again celestial bodies which are mostly prevalent in the Kuiper belt. And Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud. As you can see, outside the boundary of the solar system, there lies the Kuiper belt. And outside that, where the interstellar space starts, is the Oort cloud. And in both of these regions, there's high concentration of comet. Comet are highly elliptical in nature, which means it can take movements like this or like this around the sun. So whenever it comes near to the sun, it starts burning away because it is largely icy. So it starts burning away, the ice starts melting away, and it appears as if it has developed a tail or a coma. Therefore, they are called as comet. So this is all about some of the celestial bodies. Now let's see if we can solve a question of prelims 2011. What is the difference between asteroid and comets that we have just read? First of all, asteroids are small rocky planetoids, while comets are formed of frozen gases held together by rocky and metallic material. We know that the comets are more prevalent in the regions which are very, very far away from the sun. So naturally, they are living in colder atmosphere. Naturally, they'll have more tendency to build ice on them. Therefore, this is the correct statement. Next, asteroids are found mostly between orbits of Jupiter and Mars, which is most famously known as the asteroid belt, while comets are found mostly between Venus and Mercury. This statement is incorrect because they are mostly found in Kuiper belt, in the outside zone of solar system, Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud. Next, comets show a perceptible glowing tail, while asteroids do not. Again, this is absolutely true and we know the reason of it. So the answer is 1 and 3. What about asteroid Bennu that has been explored by OSIRIS-REx spacecraft of NASA? So this is an asteroid which is considered as the most nearest asteroid to the Earth. Also, it has the biggest threat because no other space rock has a higher known probability of hitting the Earth as asteroid Bennu has. So therefore, studying it becomes very, very important. It is situated somewhere here, very close to the Earth, very close to the orbit of Earth. It is about 200 million miles away from the Earth. It was discovered for the first time by NASA research team in 1999. It is a B-type asteroid because it has got significant reserves of carbon. And why Bennu is very important? Because it is very old, it is very primitive. It is considered that it was created in the initial 100 million years of the formation of the entire universe. So it might be having very, very primitive minerals which will help us to understand the early stages of solar system formation, and it will also help us to understand the formation or the composition of the primitive celestial bodies. The another asteroid that we are trying to explore is the dual system of Didymos and Didymoon. So basically this is an asteroid which has also got a moon. Didymos has got a moon which is called Didymoon. And in order to check the impact of a spacecraft or to divert asteroid from hitting the Earth, we are trying to experiment the DART mission, double asteroid redirection test, that is launched by NASA and European Space Agency in this particular asteroid system. So after discovering Bennu and Didymos system, we will also try to explore the Apophis. So these are some of the asteroids that we are trying to mine, we are trying to explore. This was all about today's discussion. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.